So Ukrainian hits on oil refineries keep coming while the Russians do things like this. 6 people were hospitalized after Russian drones hit a Poltava gas station. Railway disruptions affect 4 train routes. Okay, so this is just an ordinary gas station where people are like filling up for their car and that sort of thing. And the Russians are trying to intimidate people by blowing them up while they're at a gas station. While they're doing that, what's going on with the Ukrainians? They're attacking Russian oil refineries, and they're being very successful. They're at least at 25% or so of denigrated Russian refinery capacity, probably north of 25 into 26, 27. Maybe a little bit more than that, given what just happened here. A Ukrainian drone has just successfully struck another Russian refinery in Bashkira. Okay, so here, according to Russian sources, 2 aircraft-type drones struck the Gazprom Neftgazim Salavat petrochemical plant in Bashkortostan, a key oil refining unit that has reportedly been hit. Okay, so they're on target. They're locked in on this strategy, and it's a good strategy. I think that you're going to see some crumbling here when Ukraine about doubles what it has done to Russia over the last month and a half. It's going to be very, very difficult for Russia to keep moving with it. They're going to start to become a net importer of refined products, which is going to be wild to watch. Salavat was previously targeted in May of 2024 when a drone hit the pumping station of the same oil facility. So it's not like it hasn't been done before. They know where it is. Turns out it was another strike on a refinery, Gazprom Neftgazim Salavat cracking refinery in Salavat, Bashkortostan, over 1,300 kilometers from the border. Ukrainian sanctions in action. That's what we're looking at. Let me show you this image. These are these guys watching it like, whoa, what just happened? Yep, it just happened. Okay. Salavat refinery has been struck. It's, again, here's an image of how far it is. 1,300 kilometers, 800 miles from the Ukrainian border. The refinery produces more than 10 million tons in oil products. It has greater capacity than that, but it refines more than 10 million right now. Again, here's the map where it is relative to Ukraine. Overnight, Ukrainian special forces struck the Volgograd refinery. It has the capacity for 15.7 million tons per year. It's doing over 8, counts for 5.6% of Russia's refining. Now, is all 5.6 off? No, probably not. But let's say another 1%'s done. That's still a good job. Okay, here it is in the Kyiv Independent. And okay, now let's move on to other things. Underground Atesh movement sabotaged a railway near Yekaterinburg, over 2,000 kilometers from Ukraine, paralyzing train traffic along Russia's strategic supply lines. This hub funneled ammunition, armored vehicles, fuel to the front lines and factories. And again, I've talked about this particular line many times. It is a strategic military line, and they keep hitting it. And now, when you sabotage a railway line, it's only a temporary kind of thing. It gets fixed and repaired, but it still gives you a dilemma. Do you fix this, or do you have to, or can you go do the thing that you were otherwise going to do? Okay. Meanwhile, what were the Russians doing to the Ukrainians day over day or night over night? On the night of September 17th to 18th, Russians attacked European towns and cities with 75 UAVs. I like the way this is phrased, European towns and cities, because Ukraine is Europe. Ukrainian defenders shot down or suppressed 48 of the kamikaze drones. So 48 out of 75 is not a great ratio, but it dwarfs what Poland was able to do the other night. Overnight, drones attacked hit Kyiv region. Fires broke out in a warehouse, a private home in Bucha district. In the Poltava region, rail infrastructure was temporarily cut, causing train delays. So, yeah. And that's what was going on. Russia pounds Ukraine's railway infrastructure for a second day in a row. A rescuer killed, 2 more wounded in Russia's attack as Ukraine marks Rescuer Day. So Yeah, the Russians just keep targeting civilians. This should be the headline story of everything that's going on. Not just, do you want to have peace? No, there's not the right conditions. How about, when will you stop attacking civilians? We have, like Lavrov yesterday was talking about, we don't target civilians. I'm showing you, I said this yesterday, go to any of my daily briefs and you'll see Ukraine are being attacked by Russia, Ukrainian civilians being attacked by Russia. So, okay. 930 Russians off the battlefield day over day, 2 tanks, 33 armored systems, artillery systems rather, 122 vehicles and fuel tanks. In the Pokrovsk direction, Russians conducted 43 assaults. I'm wondering what's going to happen here in Donetsk when we get to the point where, so here's Pokrovsk, here's its sister city. Like they're trying to get in, they're moving that direction, but they're not there. But there's this huge mass outside the city. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Andrew Perpetua had a somewhat ominous warning. In the morning of September 13th, IEDs were discovered on a railway section in Russia's Oriel region. While attempting to defuse the second device, it detonated, killing 3 Russian National Guard troops, damaging the tracks. Ukrainian forces captured a Kenyan athlete who was forced to fight for Russia. Listen to this. A Kenyan runner taken prisoner by Ukraine said he was tricked into joining Russia's army. He explained that he had come to Russia on the invitation of a sports agent, but was later offered side work in St. Petersburg along with 3 other Kenyans. The documents he was given turned out to be a contract with the Russian military. When he tried to refuse, he was threatened with execution. Training lasted a week. Okay, so this is part of the great advantage that Ukraine has over Russia. Russia will, conscript someone, give them a week's worth of training, and push them up to the front line. Now, Ukraine has done that, given them short training, only because there was dire necessity to get there quickly. But generally speaking, Ukraine doesn't do, like, they try to actually provide significant training. Okay, training lasted just a week, with rifles demonstrated through gestures and shoves since no one spoke English. According to him, other foreigners were also serving in his unit. On the way to his first mission, he escaped and wandered into the forest for 2 days before reaching Ukrainian soldiers. He begged not to be sent back in a prisoner swap, saying he would be killed if returned to Russia. So, about that. Here's Russian drones hiding on the roads. The Ukrainian drones coming to find them. So they're eliminating the targets that are trying to take out Ukrainian targets. So again, this is a very common thing to see, drones just sitting there lurking, waiting for something to pass by or something to drive over it or whatever. Here's the launcher of a Buck M2 surface-to-air missile system. It's worth around $25 million. Well, it used to be worth around $25 million. Now I'm not sure even what the going rate is for the scrap that is left over. Ukrainian drone captures the moment a FPV air defense drone intercepts a Russian Lancet kamikaze UAV in mid-flight. Here it is trying to catch up with it. Lancets are the big reconnaissance drone, and there it goes. It's kind of awesome to see. Now, remember, you were seeing this bit about the pipelines, the guys crawling through pipelines, and that's happened a month ago, and then it was happening recently. The Ukrainians were starting to put barbed wire in pipelines so they couldn't crawl through. Well, here's a Russian who survived through this pipeline, the most recent one. He said, they sent us into the gas pipeline 10 at a time. The first 8 kilometers were on scooters. After that, we were given handmade wheeled carts. Ours will shoot us if we don't carry out the mission, and it doesn't matter how we do it. Our people, our commanders, will shoot us if we don't carry out the mission. It's another thing Ukraine has going for it. They don't treat their people like cattle. So, Mikhail Stepanov, born on December 3rd, 1999, in the Vologda region of Russia, 112th Motor Rifle Regiment of the 68th Guards Motor Rifle Division. He was captured in the Kupiansk area of the Kharkiv region. Sever, that's the name he goes by, is one of Russia's soldiers who moved through the gas pipeline for about 13 kilometers in the Kupiansk district. When the Ukrainian special forces began clearing the pipeline, he fled, hid, and was found under a bed in a bombed-out residential building. Right under the gas pipeline, they set up a fairly large dugout for accumulation. When the Russians were surrounded at the exit of the gas pipeline, there were about 70 of them. They decided to fight back. The first injured began to crawl back through the pipeline and blocked it. Most of the soldiers were killed by mortars, drones, grenade launchers, and small arms fire directly into the pipeline, and some near the exit of the pipeline. The Russian commanders, ordered them by radio to blow themselves up, but Sever escaped and was captured. Okay, this is how the Russians expend their men, and so there's a reason why they may only be crawling forward. Yes, they're advancing, but advancing at that kind of cost. Okay, now, this is the ominous warning I was talking about from Andrew Perpetua. Russia has been moving forces into position in Pokrovsk for weeks and months at this point. They are preparing for what could end up being the largest battle of the entire war. You should not misread what's been going on. Now, there's a couple potential scenarios here. So the first scenario is that they keep doing what they've been doing, and they launch some kind of, like, they have all this mass, but they're not able to actually capitalize on that, because the mass doesn't really mean much when you are just like the drone minefield in the sky is just, going to keep picking them off. Second scenario is kind of frightening. In the second scenario, the Russians just throw all the meat at them. Yes, they get through. They get, tremendous losses, like multiple thousands in a single day, but they poke through and get to some place. And maybe that's just what happens. I mean, given what we know about the pipeline commanders, it wouldn't be surprising to me if they thought that this was a good idea. Okay, Norway opens the largest training range in eastern Poland, large training range in eastern Poland to train Ukrainian troops. Its Camp Jomsborg training range was built from scratch over the summer. The first groups of fighters with real combat experience have arrived. Norwegian instructors are already running courses with realistic combat simulations and stress training. The program combines basic and specialized training, from practicing actions under stress to controlling behavior on the battlefield. Training is two-way. Norwegian forces share skills while also learning up-to-date tactics and frontline experience from the Ukrainians. And here's a sign of Camp Jomsborg. I love this with a Viking, a pretty angry-looking Viking on the cover, or on the board. Okay. Russia, meanwhile, has built more than 210 camps to indoctrinate and militarize, wait for it, kidnapped Ukrainian children, some as young as 8, teaching them to assemble drones and throw grenades, according to Yale researchers. And then finally, I'm going to leave you with this story, and this is just the reality of where they are. Ukraine's future isn't just decided on the battlefield. It's in the quiet apartments of Kyiv and Odessa and Lviv and Kharkiv, where couples look at rent receipts and postpone having children. Like, this makes sense, right? This is something that you would expect. Okay, we're in the middle of a war. It's unstable. Let's just wait. Fertility has fallen to 0.8. Deaths outpace birth 3 to 1. You can't sustain that. Bonuses rose from 41K to 51K hryvnia, or 1,000 to 1,220. That's like if you have for having children. But no scum can erase war and fear. Or no sum can erase war and fear. They can be paid like if you have a baby, but if you're a woman in a war zone, do you really want to be pregnant and like have to run for your life potentially? And right? So that's really what's happened. There's a demographic crisis going on in Ukraine right now. Europe, take note. This is your story too. Like it's a similar thing, even though it's really magnified in Ukraine right now because of the war. In the United States, we have something similar, not quite as severe, but we also have mass immigration that has kept the population rising, although we're undoing some of that. All right, my friends, that's all that I have for you right now. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for the time, but please put comments below. I try to read as much as I can. Thank you for the likes. When you hit that like button, it really helps these videos spread. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.